are now tuned into Flipping the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 9. Episode 9, a milestone. 9 is a very significant number in Eagles history. Do you know why, Chris?
Are the initials BDN? Is that what?
They actually are, but it's for a specific reason I'm going with.
Is it because we had Vince Young on our team once upon a time?
No, unfortunately not. Before we get there, by the time you guys are all listening to this, Eagles lost a heartbreaker last night, 24-20, as much as Carson Wentz tried to will us to victory. And this is where I'm going with number 9. Now, number 9, I don't know if you remember in 2017 when he came to back up Carson after the big injury. I think it was a game against the Oakland Raiders. My apologies. The offense looked horrific. I don't know if you remember that game specifically. It was terrible. Like, we were on the brink of losing that game. Do you remember that? It was bad. It was terrible.
That game was ugly. And if you're sitting there listening to us and saying, "No, I felt good after that game," you are lying through your damn teeth. There was no Eagles fan after that game that was like, "You know what? We're in good shape with Foles. We're in real good shape with Foles." Every single person in Eagles Nation after that game was like, "Damn, we lost Carson Wentz.
We were
Our
panicking.
season's over." Yep.
So after the Oakland game, everybody was in panic. Everybody was trying to figure out what was going to happen with the offense. And Doug Peterson kept on saying it's on him because of the play calling. So fast forward to 2 years, and we're right back where we started after Carson Wentz's injury. We still haven't figured out what's going on with the play calling. I don't know how you feel about it, but it's just blowing my mind right now.
It's frustrating. We were in 2017. We were so used to before that Oakland game. We were just so used to the Eagles starting off hot, starting off first quarter like the opening drive touchdown or second drive touchdown, and starting the game off, with a nice lead. But ever since then, that Oakland game, like you just said, and last year, when we opened the season against Atlanta with Foles. There was no offense there either, and it really didn't come about until Wentz came back. But it's really just frustrating, and I know Doug Peterson in his press conference today. Again, everybody, we're recording on Monday, so his press conference on Monday. He took ownership of it. He said it's not the execution of the plays, it's the play calling, and he needs to do a better job of the play calling. And quite frankly, yes, he does. He has so many. I mean, he did have to scrap a lot of the game plan with those out of nowhere injuries to Deshaun and Alshon and Goddard. I mean, Goddard was not really out of nowhere because he was out all preseason with that calf injury. Yeah. But there was nothing through practices this week. They weren't on the injury report. Like, it really just sprung up out of nowhere. So he did admit that he had to pretty much scrap the whole game plan because he was out 3 playmakers that he had game planned for. But at the same time, you still have
with them, it still happens.
Yeah, you still have talent. You still have talent on that offense. Like, why dial down the play calling because you had 3 people out? Give Aguilar a chance, and I'm sure we'll get to him in a little bit. And I know he kind of – I'm going to say this, and people are going to disagree with me. He did ball out, 8 catches, 100-something yards, 1 touchdown. Should have had another one. But, it's – and then JJ is no slouch either. Matt Collins sighting out of nowhere. I knew something was wrong when I saw Hollins in the game.
Yeah, it threw me off because I was looking for Alshon the whole time. I'm like, where the hell is Alshon Jeffrey? Where's Deshaun? And it wasn't until midway through second quarter where they announced that Deshaun was out, Alshon was out, and it's just it was the weirdest. It was like the Twilight Zone.
I was like, whoa! Did Hollins make that catch? Wait, hold on. Hollins made that catch too? All right, what's going on here? Because This is not special teams. So why is he out there? And Hollins did. So speaking of special teams, he had a nice play going down and getting that 1 yard line.
He did. Yes, he did.
That's why he got the roster spot. But it's why change up the game plan when you still have Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard in the backfield, Carson Wentz under center. He can make plays. He can make it happen with whoever's around him. He did it in 2016 with whoever's around him. Let him still make those plays. But the change in the game plan just completely screwed everything up. And I'm tired of watching a first drive and then they go 3 and out, or they get a first down and then 3 and out. It's frustrating. And next week they can't do that.
They definitely can't afford to do it. And I think what's really frustrating me that you mentioned the 3 and out is I feel like the Eagles this Eagles offense is not trying to establish anything on the first drive. Like, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but just play devil's advocate for a minute, right? The first drive, very first play against the Redskins was shotgun, nobody in the backfield, all wideouts, lined up. Then this game, it started off with Wentz in the shotgun again. And the running plays were the weirdest running plays. There was no holes open. I feel like Miles Sanders is looking like a very, very young version of LaShawn, where he was just dancing all over the backfield.
He was pissing me off with that. He was pissing me off with that so much.
But then even Jordan Howard, he tried his best to kind of bulldoze through, but he was running into nothing but linemen.
Yeah, it's like the offensive line didn't really look like they could get. I mean, Isaac Seumalo had a game to forget.
Oh, terrible! I think he was the lowest graded offensive lineman.
Yeah, and I think I read that he was the lowest grade offensive lineman in their history of grades.
Oh my God!
I think that's correct. If you're listening and you want to correct me, but I'm pretty sure I read that on Facebook somewhere that Pro Football Focus gave Isaac Seumalo their lowest grade ever for an offensive lineman. And that really hurts to say.
And he's been a stud all offseason in training camp and preseason. Like, he was the quietest person nobody heard about, and that was good.
He got a quiet extension. He beat out Wisniewski. He made people forget about Wisniewski during preseason and offseason. And people were calling for Wisniewski during the game yesterday because of what he was doing. And the same thing with Big V. Big V was having a great preseason too, and offseason, and then he had a game to forget too. So they were just getting their asses kicked yesterday by a defensive line that really only has Grady Jarrett on it.
Very true.
Adrian Claiborne's no slouch either, but it's really.
They made Beasley look really good last night.
Yeah, Vic Beasley was all over the place. But that offensive line, they handled Ryan Kerrigan last week and the Redskins defensive line that are loads better than the Falcons defensive line, and it made the Falcons defensive line look like the Eagles defensive line yesterday.
Very true. So here's the question: what are we missing? Like, we're a loaded offense. What are we missing at this point?
Play calling. Yeah.
So, do you think the play calling has something to do with Frank Reich? Because
I don't.
They look really good.
Because Doug was still calling the plays when Reich was here anyway.
Yeah, but Reich was helping them game plan.
Yeah.
Maybe just grow.
I mean, grow. He hasn't grown on me. Yeah. He was a good wide receivers coach. He was Alshon's wide receivers coach in Chicago.
Yeah.
But it looks like he's a little in over his head at this point. Because really, ever since he became offensive coordinator, it hasn't looked like an offense.
It's looked terrible.
It's crazy. I don't know what he's telling Doug in the meetings. They're like, yeah, let's just go shotgun, 5 wide.
Shotgun. Let's bring it back to Chip Kelly days.
Yeah, like everything, shotgun. Just run it under center. Get Jordan Howard back there in the backfield and just hand the ball off to him and let him pound it.
Exactly.
Let's get a fullback back. Let's bring it back to Leonard Weaver days, and just pound the rock. The fact that Minnesota only needed Kirk Cousins to pass 10 times against Atlanta because Dalvin Cook ran it 21 times for 100 and something yards rushing, and he was just carving up the Falcons defense. You would think Doug would be like, you know what? We got two backs with the talent of Dalvin Cook. Let's just tear them apart for 200 yards rushing. They just rush it 21 times. I mean,
the opposite.
18 times.
Literally the complete opposite. I think Chris Collins, for Al Michael said it last night. Like the formula was there in week 1 for the Eagles to beat the Falcons, and they said no. You know what? Let's throw it 51 times. And I think they only ran it 18 times to begin with.
Yeah, 18 times, 2.5 yards a carry. It's crazy, and then Wentz threw it 50 times. That's not the balanced offense we were used to seeing,
and that's not ideal.
And they need to come out next week. It needs to be first play of the game needs to be a rush.
They gotta come out swinging next week. You got a power runner, you got a shifty runner, you got a little runner. There's bros. You got everything you need. You got to come out swinging at this point. Like this game reminded me so much of the Chiefs versus Eagles game in Week 2 in 2017, because it was so frustrating to watch the Eagles lose that game. Like the moment that Travis Kelce leaped over our defenders to get into to the end zone, like it was that frustration all over again, but times 10. Like I feel like I'm having a bad hangover. I even told you this morning that you had to digest the game before we brought it to the pod.
I still haven't digested it. But we have a player in Jordan Howard who has played the Lions 6 times in his career because he was a member of Chicago. Yeah, so I think next week will be his coming out party because he has fun. I know it's a different scheme and everything. And last year when he was with Chicago, he actually was terrible against Detroit last year. Mm-hmm. He carried first game of the season against Detroit. He carried it 11 times for 21 yards, and then the second time he carried it 7 times for 13 yards. So less than 2 yards a carry in both games. So Chicago won both games, but before that, his career high against the Lions is 125 yards rushing, only on 15 rushes.
Interesting. When was that at?
That was in 2017.
Okay.
But that wasn't Matt Patricia's Lions. And so in his career against the Lions, he averages 4.97 yards a carry. And he's caught it 11 times for 84 yards. He has the success. He knows Detroit. Give it to Jordan Howard and let him do Jordan Howard things next week. He just gets yards. He just gets yards and yards and yards. He pounds it. That defensive line of Detroit, while it's improved, they have Trey Flowers now on the defensive line. There's no way in hell they can handle the Eagles' offensive line. I did say that against about the Falcons' defensive line, but I feel more confident about the Lions' defensive line not being able to have success against the Eagles.
I'm hoping you're right. And I know I'm a huge Miles Sanders fan, but I think right now they gotta feed Howard. Like Howard's he's a streaky runner where he needs to get fed in order to get into a groove. They gotta go with it. You gotta do the same thing you did with LeGarrette Blount.
I like Sanders too, but they have gone away from their typical rookie usage, which I don't think has helped them because they've pretty much just thrusted Sanders into the role where going into this season, everybody was thinking, don't be surprised if Sanders is started by week 4, week 5, week 6. He was started pretty much week 1. I know Sproles started the game last week, but Sanders got the ball the most. He started the game yesterday. It's like they're trying to force him to be the guy right now, and he's just a rookie. Like Jordan Howard has been the guy before. He's 3rd in the league in rushing since he's entered the league. It's like let him do his thing. And let Sanders compliment him for now, and then later on in the season, when he has more experience, and like the bulk of the big time defensive lines that we're gonna face is gone, because we still got the Vikings defensive line, we got the Packers defense the next week's the Lions. Then you get the Packers defensive line a few days later on the Thursday.
Much improved Packers defense too. The secondary as well.
Much improved. And then you got the Vikings defense, who's no joke. Jets defenses. Then you got the Cowboys defensive line, that's really no joke either. And then you got the Bills defense, who's been showing out.
Yeah.
So you have all these pretty damn good defenses coming up, and you're trying to force Sanders into this role when he's not ready yet.
They got to ease him in. That's something I truly agree with. They have to ease him into the offense. Like, in my mind, this season, Sanders is a change of pace back. Howard is the bell cow. Like, milk Howard for what he's worth right now. You're not going to have him next year. Milk the life out of him.
Yep.
And to go back on the snaps, Sanders had 35 snaps last night. Darren Sproles had 28. Jordan Howard only had 18.
That's ridiculous.
So, as we vented about the offense, I think our next very, very favorite subject is coming up. The defense. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Jim Shorts did call a heck of a game. I really like the aggressiveness. I love the blitzing. I love seeing Sendejo just charge right through the line. But Ronald Darby is in my opinion, and I said this I think in a podcast either last week. It hasn't been last week, yeah, because it was week 1. He's becoming a liability. I think he came back way too early.
Yeah. Before I go into Darby, I tweeted yesterday when Sendejo got that sack, it doesn't make up for all the shitty ass tackling he's been doing and the coverage he's been doing. It did not make up for it at all. I am still on the cut Sendejo train, but that was a good dial-up blitz. It's Jim Schwartz. He was like, I see Wentz is struggling right now. I see the offense is struggling right now. So let's dial up the blitz. Let's get him into a rhythm. And that's what he needs to do. Like, the Lions' offensive line is not that great either. So that's what he needs to do. He needs to pressure Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is one of the best late-game quarterbacks in the history. So you need to get to him early so he doesn't have that opportunity later in the game to go down the field and win the game. Because that's what he's done. I think he has had the most fourth-quarter comebacks in the NFL last year, or maybe in the last few years. But Darby, oh man,
he's becoming a liability. And last night he had 59 snaps, and the next closest corner to him was Avonte Maddox with 43, Rasul Douglas with 39, and Sidney Jones with 32.
Douglas did pretty good on Jones.
He actually did. That last play, that stupid screen pass, I don't know if you saw it, but Mohamed Sanu with the block from behind.
Back, yeah.
Like,
I mean, we're not gonna be Saints fans.
Yeah, let's not do that.
We're not gonna call up our local legislator and say, listen, you need to bring this to the Supreme Court. Because we're not Saints fans. That's what Saints fans do. But it was egregious. It was blatant. It was obvious. But I'm not going to complain about the Jake Matthews block. That was a legit block. He just crushed Avonte Maddox, I think it was. And I think after the game, they interviewed Kelsey about that hit, and Kelsey said it was completely clean. Like, Kelsey said that if the Eagles ran that play and that exact block happened, and it was called, he would have been so furious if that was called. So you heard it from Kelsey. It was a legit play. But yeah, Douglas he redeemed himself from the Redskins game. But Darby, you know what I think Darby needs?
Vacation?
He needs a vacation.
I think he needs to be sent to Miami, for a permanent vacation.
I think if he's going to stay on the team, I think he needs an old best friend of his to come and join him, so they can play.
Green Goblin?
No, the Green Goblin. Who knows when he's going to be back? There's a certain NFL cornerback who Ronald Darby played with in college at Florida State, who got in a little tiff with his head coach yesterday and is
Ooh, I know what you're talking
now
about.
on the trade block for a first-round pick. Jalen Ramsey played with Ronald Darby at FSU. Darby got drafted in 2015, Jalen Ramsey in 2016. There's pictures all over the internet circling right now because obviously the Eagles are fit for any cornerback that's available in the league. But once the Ramsey stuff came out, everybody's posting pictures. Look, Darby and Ramsey, they're best friends. They went to college together. But you know who else Ramsey went to school with?
Oh, you're making this very interesting. You did a lot of research today.
Ramsey did not go to college with this person. He went to high school
Oh my goodness.
with a person on the Eagles defense.
Wait, Ronald Darby or Jalen Ramsey?
Jalen Ramsey went to high school with someone on the Eagles defense.
Okay.
And it's a player that I predicted a breakout this year.
Derek Barnett?
Derek Barnett. They both went to Brentwood Academy in Tennessee. So that the connections are there. I tweeted at Ronald Darby a few minutes ago saying, listen, tell Howard to get your boy over. I don't know if Derek Barnett has a Twitter, but if he does, I'll tweet him.
I think if we trade for a corner, I think Darby gets shipped with draft pick.
I don't think Darby gets shipped because people are going to look at his video from yesterday, last week, and be like, "Listen, you got to send Darby and 2 first-round picks if this is going to happen." I don't.
Who do we give up then?
I hate giving up. Not giving up. I wouldn't be giving up on him. I hate letting Sidney Jones go because I love Sidney Jones. But if we were to trade for a quarterback like Jalen Ramsey, I feel like they would have to give up Jones. Because Jones, out of all the corners on the roster right now, out of all the healthy corners on the roster right now, he has the most talent. And for a team like Jacksonville who wants to get a talented player in return, plus a first or second round pick in return, they're going to probably demand Jones.
Interesting. And I think I'll jump on that boat with you. I might say, yeah, you know what? If it means keeping Rasul Douglas on the team and giving him more snaps, I'm all for it.
See, I'm so torn because I want Jalen Ramsey on the team. I want Minkah Fitzpatrick on the team. I want both of them. Let's get both. Howie, come on, Howie season, always.
Just please fix the secondary at this point because they're becoming such a liability and it's becoming a headache.
Yeah, because there's so many people that say corners are helped out by a good pass rush, and we haven't had a good pass rush. But at the same time, a pass rush is helped out by good corners. Also, if a corner is locking down those wide receivers, then the quarterback is holding on to the ball a little longer for these defensive linemen to get to the quarterback. Matt Ryan and Case Keenum, they're getting the ball out quick because these corners aren't covering, or the receivers are getting down the field fast enough because the corners are just playing catch up.
I'm getting so tired of these 10-yard cushions that the corners are starting to give that Jim Shorts has been requiring. Like, just let them press. You gotta let them press, man.
I miss the days of press corners. I miss Jim Johnson. R.I.P.
They're not slow corners. Give or take, Darby right now is slow because of he's still recovering, but they're not terribly slow corners, and they're physical enough to press at the line and give the defensive line a little bit more time to press onto the quarterback.
But speaking of corners available, and I take this tweet with a grain of salt because of where it's coming from. Jason La Canfora, who's known for his not so accurate predictions, tweeted at 7:51, Minkah Fitzpatrick trade likely to be wrapped up by tomorrow. The Dolphins expected to get first-round value for him, hearing Washington, Dallas, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Philly, and Seattle all in the mix. Offers are being made. So you look at that and say, obviously, they said, whenever someone's available, they're gonna dip their feet in the water and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So Tuesday might be Christmas coming early for Minkah Fitzpatrick, who I made the case for the other day, who would be a perfect fit on this defense. His biggest gripe with the Dolphins is that they're using him in too many different positions. He's pretty much the Malcolm Jenkins of the Dolphins. He last year as a rookie, he lined up at slot cornerback 379 times, perimeter quarterback which is, for those of you that don't know what perimeter means, that means outside corner. Think of Ronald Darby. 281 snaps. He lined up at deep safety 166 times, lined up at box safety 95 times, and he lined up on the defensive line for either an edge blitzer or covering the tight end 23 times. And to compare that with Malcolm Jenkins, last year Jenkins went on the defensive line 122 times. He was in the box 514 times. He was in the slot 362 times. He was out wide on the perimeter 30 times, and he was at safety 148 times. So they're one and the same. But Brian Flores, the new head coach for Dolphins, told Minkah Fitzpatrick, your role is going to change every week.
Mm.
And that's
so
not
he
something.
has no consistent role.
Yeah, there's no consistency there. And Minkah Fitzpatrick, he wants to be a slot corner. He wants to play the slot. And last year, Pro Football Focus graded him as the best slot corner, I believe, in the whole league. He allowed a passer rating of 69.0 last year. And let me just get my nice comment on that, because 69, but
terrible.
But in the slot, he allowed a 53.4 passer rating in the slot. He allowed 10 first downs the whole season, and was the 9th best corner in Pro Football Focus last year. And last year, his defensive coordinator, whose name is Matt Burke. And if you never heard that name before, Eagles fans, then you should do a little bit more research on your own team, because Matt Burke is currently the defensive special assistant for the Eagles, who was Minkah Fitzpatrick's defensive coordinator last year, who only helped Minkah Fitzpatrick get 80 tackles as a rookie, 2 interceptions, and one of those being a pick six. So Matt Burke knows Minkah. Minkah knows Matt Burke. The fit is there. It's between Jalen Ramsey and Minkah Fitzpatrick. There's both so many connections to the Eagles that makes so much sense for this not to happen. So with that being said, don't expect either one to be on the Eagles this week, because there's just too much sense for it to happen.
So the deadline, you said, is tomorrow for Minkah.
Apparently by tomorrow he's going to be traded.
Okay, so I guess we'll wait and see at this point. But we can only cross our fingers to see who ends up with the Eagles. And I'm hoping somebody, because this is a third year in a row that a secondary has become a liability for us.
Because, now it's time for After Dark. It's Monday night right now. I know you're going to be listening to this on Tuesday morning, so try to contain yourself while you're listening to this in the car. But imagine a secondary with a motivated Ronald Darby, who has shown us in the past he could be a lockdown number one corner for this team. With Sidney Jones on the outside, Minkah Fitzpatrick in the slot, Malcolm Jenkins and Ronnie McLeod, who looked great yesterday.
Oh, he's looked terrific the past 2 weeks.
At safety. And then you got Avonte Maddox and Rasul Douglas rotating. And this is assuming Minkah Fitzpatrick's only traded for picks. No players in between. That secondary's automatically vaulted into the upper echelon of NFL secondaries. Now, if you trade maybe a Sidney Jones and a second-round pick for Jalen Ramsey, and you sign him to an extension, and then you got Darby and Jalen Ramsey on the outside, and you got Avonte Maddox in the slot. That's still sexy ass defense right there too.
Yeah, that's a real. I like that. I like the second scenario more. I'm not gonna lie.
Because you look at what's coming up. Like, let's say, whoever. Let's say they trade for
we need
Minka
it at this point.
Yeah, you trade for Minka Fitzpatrick tomorrow, Jalen Ramsey, tomorrow or Wednesday, because the Jaguars play on Thursday. I don't think they play right away on Sunday. But if they do, let's say they do play on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got the Packers, got Devontae Adams, who's on my fantasy team, so he's a beast.
Don't start. Do not start.
Then you got the Jets, who now have Demaryius Thomas. So Robbie Anderson too. Robbie Anderson's a speedster. But then
they got our old friend Jamison Crowder.
They got Jamison Crowder too. They got Lev Bell, obviously. So you have now maybe Minka Fitzpatrick to kind of shadow Bell, or Jenkins to shadow Bell. Then you move down. You go to the Vikings with Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs. You got the Cowboys with Amari Cooper. Who knows if they'll have Michael Gallup in that game, because he just had microscopic surgery for his meniscus. And they said 2 to 4 weeks, but apparently they're looking maybe just a 2-week thing. And the Cowboys had such a cake start to the season. Jesus Christ!
Let's leave that in for Skip Bayless. No Cowboy talk this week.
Christ, you faced the Giants and the Redskins and now the Dolphins when you're a 20.5-point favorite.
Ridiculous.
Come on. It's talking so much shit. You're facing the D League of the NFL right now.
Legit.
But okay, anyways, so you got them, and then you go down the line, and you're looking at the Bills. You got John Brown, who's a speedster. Cole Beasley has always been an Eagles killer.
Yeah.
And then you got to go to Chicago, who have no offense, but they still have Allen Robinson.
But they got Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not too worried about that.
I'm not too worried about that either. But then you go to the Patriots in November. And they got Josh Gordon. They got maybe
for that game.
Maybe Antonio Brown. Who knows what happens from now until then? Julian Edelman. Maybe Rob Gronkowski's back by then. Who knows?
Oh Lord, please no.
And then you look at the next week after that. You got Seattle, and DK Metcalf might be on another level by then.
Yeah, he's not a scrub. As much as everybody was saying that he's not going to be a good football player. He's proven people wrong so far. So
listen, Howie. Listen, if you're a Flipping the Birds listener, which we hope you are, or Doug or Jeff Lurie, listen. If you take a poll of Eagles Twitter, who are always rational, Eagles Twitter. No one cares about the first round picks, really. It's such a crapshoot. The first rounders, a lot of value can be had in the second and third rounds. We're good with sending a first round pick for either Minka or Ramsey. We prefer Ramsey, but if we get Minka, it's not a bad consolation prize. If you're in such a win now mode, that's Jalen Ramsey. And then you worry about the future in the future time. But if you're worried about a win now-ish, but you're more towards the future, then it's Minka. Because then you have him for the next few years on his rookie deal, and you worry about his contract later on. Maybe pick up his fifth-year option because he was a first-round pick. But Jalen Ramsey is the win right now, and we'll worry about the contract after the season.
I agree.
Because we've never had a corner of Jalen Ramsey's caliber. I say Asante Samuel's the closest, but it's about time we had a cornerback like that.
Well, here's to hoping that we get somebody, man, because we definitely need it. We definitely need it at this point. But to kind of segue away from what we feel about last night's game, me and Chris have been talking about adding a new segment, and usually in podcasts, people always have asked for the fans to ask questions for us. We're doing things a little different, so we're starting a segment called Boo Birds, and we're gonna take your opinion on what you feel like was the most disappointing part of each game. So you ready for this one, Chris? Because we actually got a lot.
I'm ready.
All right. So, ironically, Sean 214-24928. One word, well, 2 words. Ronald Darby. He just left it at that. Obviously, we just covered Ronald Darby, so I think we can move from that one. What do you think?
Yeah, we gave you our take on Ronald Darby.
All right. So, a regular, who's actually a regular fan of ours, South Philly Grinding. His take is a little interesting. He says, "Our air quotes fans."
I could see the frustration with Eagles fans. We can be, and when I said before, Eagles Twitter is very rational. Eagles Twitter is probably the worst place on the planet. Eagles
it's literally
Twitter,
a back alleyway full of just mobsters.
It's just Eagles Twitter is you're walking down the street at night, and then you hear a sound down the alleyway, and you and you look down that alleyway, and it's completely black, and then all of a sudden, all you see are just all these eyes. All these eyes just start opening up, and they're all like red. They're all red eyes, and you hear growling. And then all of a sudden you're like, shit, I gotta book it. And then you just sprint down the road, and all you hear is just angry mob behind you.
That's literally what it is.
That's Eagles Twitter right there. And it's like, and I love Eagles Twitter. I'm on Twitter every day, interacting with everybody. We both are, and it's hilarious. It's as soon as someone's available, it's Howie time. I mean, granted, Minkah Fitzpatrick and Jalen Ramsey are warranted for that, but it's like anybody, Jadeveon Clowney, let's get Clowney. Anybody. It's when Foles when Sudfeld went down. Let's go get Cap. Let's not get Cap. Oh, you're racist. I'm not racist.
That was the biggest debate. Please don't bring that up.
It's crazy. Eagles Twitter. We hate each other in Eagles Twitter. But as soon as a Cowboys fan or Giants fan, anybody comes after one of us, we are like, we unite.
So pretty much, we're just like one big old Spanish family.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to say that because I'm Puerto Rican. So that's exactly how Thanksgiving is.
That's right. That's right. We talk shit. Now, I'm Puerto Rican too. We talk so much shit about each other, but as soon as someone else is talking shit about us, we're like, well, excuse me?
It's like West Side Story.
We're here snapping and everything. We're like, we're ready. We're ready for you. But yeah, I think what South is coming from is, right after the game, everybody was calling for Aguilar's head. He had a great game. And he owned up to it at the end of the game. He lost the ball on the lights, but it's no excuse. Eagles fans were all over Zach Ertz. Why couldn't you dive? Why couldn't you go past the sticks and curl back this way? As soon as something goes wrong, it was the same thing last year in the Saints game. People were calling for Jeffrey after he dropped that ball. People were calling for Rasul Douglas last year after he made that play on Amari Cooper, and it just bounced off of him, and a lucky bounce to Cooper's hands, and he went into the end zone. As soon as Wentz went down with the concussion yesterday and McCown was in, I saw people like, finally, Wentz is out. It's ridiculous.
It's terrible. And speaking of Wentz, so the next one, this one is a little off for me. He says Carson appearing to be under siege against a good but not dominant ATL D-line. And we did discuss it in the beginning of the pod where the offensive line, they just, there was a lot of holes last night. Granted, there was a lot of holes. But Carson, he had to take his time. Like, there was no game plan for the receivers that he had in. On top of that, the receivers that he had in were mostly covered about 90% of the time. Zach Ertz didn't really show up until like the third, fourth quarter. Same thing for Aguilar.
You can't force the ball down the field when there's no one open. So
exactly.
You can't tell. It's so easy to be an armchair quarterback and just sit there with your beer and your nachos on the couch and be like, come on, Wentz, what the hell? Why aren't you getting the ball out? You don't know what he's saying. He's looking down the field. No one is open. So what do you want him to do?
You can't expect him to be efficient without trying. Like he has to be efficient with somebody open. And that tweet was from, I forgot to mention, at DJ Pigeon 19401.
DJ Pigeon. That's my new street name.
This guy, bro.
DJ Pigeon. I'm from the Bronx. DJ Pigeon all over. All pigeons down the street.
So the next one is from D Mastermind 7. Aguilar failing to make the game-winning catch a week after pouting about not getting enough touches. I respect this to a certain degree. I think what it was about that catch was that it reminded people of the old Aguilar, the before 2017. Yeah, like I guess that it's like when you're talking with your friends and out of nowhere an ex-girlfriend comes up in a conversation. It's like those bad memories. I think that's what happened. It triggered so many bad memories for Eagles fans. Look, the guy played his butt off last night. He had 10 targets. He had 8 catches. Granted, the one catch he needed to make, he didn't make, but it all happened for a reason, man. Like I personally, as much as I wanted the Eagles to win that game, down the stretch, it was way too much happening against the Eagles for them to win.
Yeah, it wasn't in the cards yesterday.
Yeah,
it was when one positive thing goes on, two negatives went.
Exactly.
How many injuries did they go through yesterday? They lost
almost the whole
Jernigan.
starting lineup.
They lost Jernigan for a month or a season, whoever you want to talk to. But it looks like it's just a month. I think it was confirmed. Corey Clement's going to be out the next week or two with his shoulder, that was a big play. It got just punched out of his arm. It wasn't because of his shoulder that he fumbled it. He had no control on that ball, and the Falcons DB just punched it out the kickoff.
Yep.
That was that drive. That should have been that drive for the Eagles to run down the field and get a quick score to start the second half. But nope, Clement just let it. He didn't protect it.
Exactly.
Clement's out for the next couple of weeks. Sidney Jones had to go in for a concussion protocol. Jason Kelsey, Carson Wentz, Aguilar. We had already lost Jeffrey and Deshaun and Goddard. It was nonstop.
It was.
So it was just. It just wasn't in the cards. As much as we all were like, what? No, the Eagles gonna come back. The Eagles come back. There was just so much for, Wentz already had come down the field and scored and got us in the lead, and then the Julio Jones touchdown happened, and it just wasn't. I mean that throw to Aguilar was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That Aguilar, he obviously. I don't want to say he redeemed himself with that catch because it wasn't a touchdown. But
the other one was gonna be a clear touchdown. I'm not gonna lie.
He was wide open. If he caught that ball, it was a walk-in touchdown.
Well, we have a completely different conversation right now.
Yep, and that throw to Mac Hollins, where his knee was like a centimeter off the ground.
Oh my God,
that thing was amazing. And we got a glimpse, more than a glimpse, of what Carson Wentz can do. He was under siege a lot of the game, but a lot of those times. He spun out. He got out. And he was making plays on the run that not many other quarterbacks can do. So Wentz, there was in the first half, I think it was the first quarter, he got hit down low. He was grabbing that knee. I was like,
yeah, that scared me a little bit, but
he looked like he was fine. It was just the ribs. But he's fine. I'm not worried about Wentz. Just worried about the cast around him.
So hopefully, everybody does come back at least a bit healthy next week. The last one we have came from at Edwin2876. He says Ronald Darby getting burned. Didn't really expect him to be best so often. Also seeing Nelson Aguilar drop that perfect pass from Carson in the final minutes. Hopefully they can learn from this loss and bounce back. We definitely covered both players very heavily in this podcast. Again, Aguilar, it was a perfect pass, but like we said, it just wasn't in the cards. Ronald Darby, I understand he's not 100%. But like I said last week, the Eagles should have been patient with him if they were so confident in their young cornerbacks. Like, that's what's blowing my mind right now. Like, if it took Wentz so long to finally find his footing from his ACL, it should have been expected from Darby as well. Like, you're really jeopardizing him right now. Like, you're jeopardizing your defense right now by just having him out there.
Yeah, especially if you're just doing single coverage with him and nothing over the top. It's they're just gonna wait for that receiver to blow by him and just lob it over Darby's head. And just,
exactly. He's become a target to opposing offenses. So thank you to everyone who participated into our very first segment of Boo Birds. It'll be a weekly thing. And now for Chris's favorite part of the show. We got to do our pick'ems.
The pick'ems, and this week, week 2. I was down one game going into this week, and
don't you give a speech?
And Bryan and I disagreed on 3 games this week, and going into tonight, which is the Cleveland Jets game. Obviously, we don't know who's going to win that because it's going on right now while we're recording. Last week was a pretty decent week for us. Well, I think we only really I got 4 wrong last week, and you got 3 wrong last week. This week wasn't too kind. I went 8-7 in picks before tonight, and you went 7-8. But the bigger number here is we disagreed on 3, and I beat you 2-1 in those picks. So now we are tied in our season picks, 19-11-1, and after tonight, we will either be 20-11-1 or 19-12-1, depending on the score tonight. But so going in tied to next week, I'm pretty sure we would disagree on some more. So here is next week's first game, starting on Thursday. The Tennessee Titans visiting the Nick Foles-less and probably the Jalen Ramsey-less Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh man, Titans lost to the Colts, right?
Yep, that you picked the Titans in that game, and I picked the Colts.
And then the Jaguars barely lost to the Texans
with Mr. Ron Jeremy. I mean Gardner Minshew at quarterback.
I think I'm going Jaguars. I can't trust Mariota. I don't know who he is anymore.
I'm picking Tennessee.
What do you know that I don't know? You sound kind of like, devious about it.
I already wrote down Tennessee. I wrote down some names already, teams already on my list here, just to fill in yours. I just think, I'm anticipating Jalen Ramsey not being there, or if he's still on the team, he's not playing, so they can keep him healthy for a trade. Mm-hmm. I just think Tennessee wins. No rhyme or reason. I just think they win. So next, we got Cincinnati at Buffalo. The 2-0 Buffalo Bills.
And the 0-2 Bengals. It's funny because the Bengals are 0-2, but I feel like they've been balling out. But the Bills look pretty good too. You go first on this one.
The Bills.
Stop setting me up.
I'm picking the Bills. Nobody circles wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
All right, I'm going with the Bills then.
Before you, okay, so you're going with the Bills. I'm gonna shout out Josh Allen. The Bills, Josh Allen. He was asked the other day. Oh, after they beat the Giants.
I think I know where you're going with this.
They were like, you had the chance to be drafted by New York, and Josh Allen said, "I am in New York." That's right. He's the only team in New York. The only team.
The only team in New York with 2 wins.
That's right. With a win period. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Next, the 20.5 point underdogs, Miami Dolphins versus the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, yeah, we're picking Cowboys.
Yeah, I want to pick Miami so bad, but I'm not going to be that stupid.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough game. Denver versus Green Bay.
Ooh, Denver's defense versus Green Bay's defense.
And Denver lost by a Chicago kicker.
All right, I'm going with Green Bay because you don't I learned this week that you don't bet against Aaron Rodgers.
And you did.
I did.
I'm also going Green Bay. Okay. But I think they're going to get beat up by Denver defense just in time for the Eagles to come in and do some damage too. So the next one, which is also a pretty difficult game to call, the stupid Falcons, who are not good at putting out game day hype videos. Bone crusher. It's not your time anymore, man. It used to be back 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But I was waiting for him to go like, attention, go full bone crusher, but he didn't, and he just had a sledgehammer in his hand, and they were just doing the stupid chicken dance behind him.
Yeah, that was so weird.
That was stupid. But anyways, and now the Falcons are they had like a Super Bowl party after they won last night. So them dancing, it's week 2. And you're dancing like, I guess they're celebrating that they finally beat the Eagles out of the last, four matchups. First win against the Eagles since 2015. Congratulations. Against the Colts.
So we have Falcons against the Colts. I love my guy Frank Reich, man. I'm not gonna lie. I think the Falcons, though, they take a little bit of momentum with them, and I think they beat out Jacoby Brissett.
As much as I want to pick the Colts here, I'm also picking Atlanta. Just because I think Atlanta sees the opportunity they have in front of them right now with Drew Brees being out for 6 to 8 weeks, and Carolina being terrible, and Tampa Bay being terrible. The division is theirs for the taking, and with finally being the Eagles, I think that builds them confidence to take over this division.
Yeah, I agree.
Which might possibly be the highest scoring game of the week next week, even though it features one of the best defenses in the whole league. We got Mike Vick. Oh wait, hold on, sorry, Lamar Jackson. Who is also on my fantasy team, versus Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
But
this is another great game I know who I'm picking already, but
let me hear you out. Go ahead.
I just the Baltimore defense is great.
It is.
Lamar
really
Jackson has shown that he's great, but at the same time, you're facing an offensive genius in Andy Reid, facing last year's MVP, Pat Mahomes, who's without Tyreek Hill, but they got Mecole Hardman, who is also on my fantasy team. Got me a few, I think 12 points last week. Good thing I started him over Sanders. And They showed last week that they don't really need Tyreek Hill right now because Patrick Mahomes can give it to anybody. Demarcus Robinson. He had
172 yards, I think.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns, only on 6 receptions. So they have so many weapons. They have Shady. I think he's getting an MRI at his ankle, I think. I just think there's too much Kansas City, and there's not enough Baltimore on the offensive. Even though Hollywood Brown and Lamar Jackson look like they're going to be a connection for the next decade, but I just think it's too much Kansas City.
I was gonna go with Kansas City just because one of the 2 quarterbacks have to hit rock bottom right now. They're both on a super stellar high where they're both riding unicorns in the sunset, and one of these unicorns is gonna jump off a cliff with nothing below it and no wings attached. And I would pick Lamar before I pick Mahomes.
You picking Mahomes?
Yeah, I'm picking Mahomes.
All right. Next up, the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Minnesota Vikings.
Vikings. I'll go Vikings.
I'm also going Vikings. Next up, which will probably be I want to see the before I even tell you who it is. I want to see the spread of this game. Let's see. Week 3 features the. Let's see. Hold on. Why now it's downloading. All right. So. Oh. Okay. So it features the 17.5 point underdog Jets.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
Versus the Patriots.
Okay, Patriots.
Yep.
No Sam Darnold.
Yeah. He's too busy hooking up with chicks.
Yes.
Mono.
Nasty ass.
Yeah, but you people out there, when this first came out, people were like, Sam Darnold's too busy, putting his face in these girls' butt cheeks. That's how you get pink eye. That's not you get mono. You guys never seen Knocked Up? He's like, yeah, we just got pink eye. Shit on his pillow. It's pink eye. That's not mono. Yeah, you gotta get your diseases set. So yeah, that's crazy though. Like Vegas looks at the Jets as just 1 point better than the Dolphins against New England
right now, man. They're bad.
because the Dolphins were 18.5 point underdogs to the Patriots. So they're looking at the Jets now. Yeah, we'll give them a point. They're only 17.5 point.
Look, man, they're pretty bad, and Cleveland is up on them right now, if I'm not mistaken. 6-0, first quarter still.
All right, so now next, it's gonna be a tough one for you. It's not gonna be a tough one for me.
Because you already wrote out your lineup.
No, not because of that. Because when we did our weekly season predictions during the season, during the preseason, we got to this game, and you said this was going to be the first Eagles loss. The Detroit Lions at the Philadelphia Eagles, and we can play back the tape. We got receipts. It's episode, I think, 3. If you look back, Bryan said that the Eagles were going to lose this game.
Okay, now, I did say that. But after doing my research, right, did you know that the Eagles have not won a Week 2 game in 3 years?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So with that being said, right, because I'm pissed off with how we lost, I'm pissed off with who we lost, and I'm pissed off with who we lost to, that I want my Thanksgiving redemption right now. That Ryan Matthews fumble, I want that redemption right now against the Detroit Lions. So I'm picking the damn Eagles.
We're gonna have reminiscence of that snow game with Shady against Detroit.
Yes, I want to see that. Let it snow, damn it.
I don't think it's gonna snow in September.
It could happen. You never know. It's a new world.
I will say though, the Eagles put out a contest today to win tickets to the game Sunday, and I entered. So we'll see. Because my wife's baby shower is on Saturday. So if I win these tickets on Sunday, looks like I'm getting up early Sunday to drive over. This next one's a little bit of a
doozy.
Yeah, I guess a little bit. I think it's a little tough. Carolina and a shell of himself, Cam Newton.
Newton, you mean?
Yeah, versus Grandma Newton. Versus Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals.
Damn, it's like, really? Is that? Oh, damn. Kyler Murray has looked pretty good. He's thrown over 300 yards in the first 2 games. Last week, he did pretty damn good for facing the Ravens.
He needs to get David Johnson involved more, though.
Yeah, but he went down with an injury.
No, he came back.
Come back? Okay.
He came back. He's on my fantasy team.
This guy Fitzgerald, back-to-back weeks over 100 yards. Cam Newton, all he has going for him right now is
McCaffrey.
That's literally it. The Panthers defense isn't even out that either.
McCaffrey's great though.
Yeah, but it's literally McCaffrey against the Cardinals. Like, am I picking like a stud rookie, finding his groove, finding his way through the schedule, or am I picking a running back who's burdening this whole team on his shoulders right now? Even though I have McCaffrey in my fantasy league.
I wonder what Cam Newton would wear at the press conference because Arizona's hot. He can't wear that same stuff at the press. That thing he's gonna be sweating his ass off.
Bro, if he wears that damn thing again one more time, man, it looks like you live in you grew up in a Spanish home. So you remember those little things that they used to put on the lamps, the lámparas?
Yeah.
The cortinas. It looked like that on his head, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, my grandmother used to walk down the street with her little basket, her little rolly basket down the street.
I'm gonna be ballsy, bro. I'm going Cardinals.
So am I.
Okay, cool.
All right, another little tough one because they both suck. The Giants at the Buccaneers.
Is this the Daniel Jones game? Is the real question.
So who knows?
I think the Giants are due for one. So I'll be ballsy again. I'll go with Giants. I don't believe in James Winston.
I'm going Tampa Bay.
All right.
That's our what?
First or second disagreement?
That's our second disagreement. Okay. I think the Giants' defense is putrid, and I'm putting that nicely. And Janoris Jenkins has kind of already put his defense under the bus because in the press conference after the game last week, I think he was like, "Yo, I can't cover for 10 seconds."
Yeah, I heard that.
So I don't think they got to guard Mike Evans. They got to go O.J. Howard, who he had a big fat zero last week anyway, but he still has the talent. And they got to guard my breakout star outside of Lamar Jackson on my fantasy team, Chris Godwin. So I'm going Tampa Bay.
Okay, who's next?
Another tough one. The Texans with very, very, very good quarterback Deshaun Watson, who is always on his back because his offensive line sucks. Who I think I just saw they traded everything for Tunsil, and I think he got hurt last game.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's the Texans versus speaking of hurt, their whole team is pretty much hurt. The Chargers.
Damn, I love Watson, man. But Eckler's rolling. They got D-Hop. Texans D looked pretty good against Jacksonville. Damn. I'll go with Texans. You know what? Yeah, I'm feeling a little ballsy today. I'll go Texans.
So am I. I just think Chargers. They really only have Derwin James. No, Derwin James got hurt.
Yeah, he's out.
Who's the Adderley, Nasir Adderley.
Oh, okay.
The safety that I wanted the Eagles to draft very badly. Yeah. But we got the new left tackle of the future anyway, so it's okay. Another little doozy. The Steelers and Mason Rudolph versus Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers. A 2-0 San Francisco 49ers.
I'm going with Mr. I Only Date Porn Stars.
Oh. And if anybody from Philly Sports Network is listening here, Jimmy G is available for trade.
Yo, look over your fantasy team.
he's my backup quarterback right now. He's available. Thomas, I know you need a quarterback. Jimmy G. I'm going Mason Rudolph. I'm going Pittsburgh.
Okay, interesting. All right.
That's third. Now, it's Teddy Bridgewater and the New Orleans Saints versus Seattle.
I think I said this before. I don't like betting against Russell Wilson. I'll only bet against him against the Eagles. So I'm going to Seattle.
I am also. Another one that I didn't put one down because I kind of have to see how they play tonight. Hosting the Rams.
Oh yeah, I'm going Rams. Cooper Kupp is back, and he's on my fantasy team. Both of them.
See, Cleveland has so much firepower. The defense is supposed to be very good, and their defense is supposed to neutralize what the Rams have.
But you said it right there. Supposed to.
Supposed to.
The Rams are showing up right now.
What's the score of the game right now?
I'll tell you. I got it right here. Still 6-0. End of the first quarter.
The Browns are facing Trevor Siemian, who's not much worse than Jared Goff.
Yeah, but Baker Mayfield is not doing nothing right now. Pretty much, like
6 of 12 for 77 yards.
Yeah, 50% completion percentage.
Yeah.
With Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry on your team. Give me them, bro. Give Carson Wentz those receivers. Let's see.
Yeah. Come on, please. No, we don't need those receivers. We have.
We don't need them, but this is a prove a point. Like,
I'll go Rams too. All right, Monday Night Football. Mitchell Trubisky versus Case Keenum.
Okay. Battle of the game managers. I'll go with Bears because Khalil Mack against a weak offensive line.
I'm also going Bears.
Okay. How many disagreements we have? 2?
We have 3. We have 3.
All right.
So this can be a big. We're tied. We cannot be tied after next week, since we are disagreeing on an odd number of games. We cannot be tied. So one of us will be going into week 4. We'll be going into that Green Bay and Eagles game. Either 3 games up, 2 games up, or 1 game up.
All right, we shall see, my friend. So, thank you guys for tuning in. It was a brutal loss to the Falcons, but me and Chris I think we're on the same page with this, where we're expecting the Eagles to bounce back. We'll pay close attention to the injuries, and we'll pay even closer attention to the trades. Maybe you'll get an emergency pod if Minka Fitzpatrick gets traded, or Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, I might have to record my own podcast tomorrow. If I might have to interrupt if I get a notification during my classes tomorrow. I might have to be like, all right, kids, have a seat. This is important, and then we'll run into my office and be like, listen up.
Thank God you're not the principal.
But the big thing's gonna happen this week. I'm gonna make a prediction right now.
Okay, let's see.
I think how he sees what's going on right now with the state of the NFC East. He sees how cocky Dak Prescott is being right now after beating the Giants and the Redskins, and he will send a 2020 first-round pick, a 2020 fourth-round pick, and Sidney Jones for Jalen Ramsey and a 2021 second-round pick.
Okay, I'll see you on that. Let's see what happens, man. We can only look forward to the future, and I'm really hoping Howie does something, because I don't think the corners we have right now can keep up with the Cowboys' offense. I know the Cowboys are facing weak teams, but they do have legit wide receivers, even with Gallup down.
And then they will sign him to
Boulder
an extension. And Xavier Howard has the record right now for 4 cornerback contracts, who's also on the Dolphins with Minkah Fitzpatrick. He signed a 5-year, $75.25 million deal in May. Average annual value of $15,050,000, just above Josh Norman, who's also burnt toast now. They will sign him to a 5-year extension worth $16 million a year and make him the highest paid quarterback in the league.
You went really, really, really bold with this prediction, huh?
It's Howie season.
All right, so we can only wait and see. Again, guys, thank you so much for not only paying attention to the whole podcast, but for staying tuned with us throughout the whole season so far, even during the off season. We really appreciate all you guys have done for us. And if you did hear the new intro, huge shout out to my guy George from Rico Leone for hooking us up with a new intro. We wanted to give you guys a little bit more swagger when you're entering our show.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week, or maybe sooner.
Yes, sir. Go Birds.
Go Birds.